The bustling streets of Lakeside Market buzzed with activity, the aroma of fresh bread mingling with the tang of fried street food. Amidst the crowded stalls and lively chatter, 10-year-old Mia tightly held her mother's hand. Her wide, curious eyes darted from vendor to vendor, captivated by the colorful displays of fruits and handmade trinkets. "Maya, stay close," her mother, Sarah, reminded, her voice firm yet kind. Maya nodded but stopped abruptly when something caught her eye. In the shadowed corner of the market, under a rickety wooden table, lay a small dog. Its fur was matted and filthy, its ribs protruding, and its big brown eyes were filled with fear. "Mom," Maya whispered, tugging Sarah's hand. "Look at that dog. It's all alone." Sarah followed Mia's gaze and sighed. "Honey, it's probably just a stray. There's nothing we can do." But Maya's heart ached as she crouched down, extending her hand cautiously. "Hi there," she said softly. "Are you okay?" The dog flinched but didn't move. Its tail gave the faintest wag, as if clinging to a shred of hope. "Mom, we can't just leave it here," Maya pleaded, her voice quivering. Sarah hesitated, torn between practicality and her daughter's determination. Finally, she approached the vendor nearby. "Excuse me, sir. Is that your dog?" The man, in his late 50s with a weathered face, shook his head. "No, it's been hanging around for days. Nobody wants it. I was thinking of calling animal control." Maya's stomach churned at the thought. "Please, Mom. Can we take it home? Just for tonight? We can help it, I promise." Sarah sighed deeply but relented. "All right. But only if the dog comes willingly. We can't force it." Maya knelt closer to the dog, her voice a gentle whisper. "Come on, little guy. I'll take care of you. I'll name you Lucky, okay?" The dog lifted its head, its weary eyes meeting Maya's. Slowly, it crawled forward, its trust fragile but present. Sarah retrieved a scarf from her bag and wrapped it gently around Lucky. "Let's get you home," she said, her voice softening. As they left the market, the morning sun peeked through the clouds, casting a warm glow on the trio. "Lucky," Maya whispered, stroking the dog's head. "You're safe now." When Sarah and Maya arrived home with Lucky, their modest apartment seemed to shrink in size. Lucky cowered near the doorway, his body trembling at the unfamiliar sights and sounds. "Dad's going to freak out," Maya muttered under her breath, carefully cradling Lucky. Sarah smiled faintly. "He'll understand. Just let me talk to him first." The apartment door creaked open as David, Maya's father, appeared, a cup of coffee in hand. His eyebrows shot up at the sight of Lucky, still wrapped in Sarah's scarf. "What's this?" David asked, his voice tinged with surprise. Maya stepped forward, clutching Lucky tightly. "Dad, this is Lucky. He needs us." David looked at Sarah, his expression unreadable. "A dog? Maya, we've talked about this. Pets are a big responsibility." "I know, Dad," Maya said, her voice steady but pleading. "But he doesn't have anyone. He's scared and alone." Sarah intervened, placing a hand on David's arm. "Let's at least let him stay for a night. He needs food and rest. After that, we can decide." David sighed but relented. "Fine. One night." Maya beamed and hurried to set up a corner for Lucky in the living room. She spread out an old blanket, placed a bowl of water nearby, and gently set Lucky down. "Here you go, buddy," she said softly. "This is your space now." Lucky sniffed the blanket cautiously before curling up, his weary eyes scanning the room. The first few days were challenging. Lucky refused to eat, barely moving from his spot under the table. The slightest sound, a closing door, a ringing phone, sent him into a trembling fit. "He's traumatized," Sarah said one evening as she watched Maya sit beside Lucky, reading aloud from her favorite storybook. "I just want him to feel safe," Maya replied, her voice quiet but determined. Each day, Maya worked tirelessly to gain Lucky's trust. She sat beside him for hours, speaking softly and offering small pieces of boiled chicken. Slowly, Lucky began to respond. He wagged his tail faintly when Maya called his name, and one afternoon, he even licked her hand. "Mom, he licked me," Maya exclaimed, her face lighting up with joy. Sarah smiled. "You're doing great, sweetheart. Just keep being patient." While Maya and Lucky bonded, David remained skeptical. "He's a good kid, but we can't keep him," he told Sarah one night. "Our lease doesn't allow pets, and this place is already cramped." "I know," Sarah said softly. "But look at Maya. She's happier than I've seen her in months." David sighed, his shoulders slumping. "Let's give it another week. But we need a plan if this doesn't work out." Late one evening, as the family watched a movie, a loud crash shattered the quiet. Lucky yelped and bolted under the couch, trembling. Maya rushed to him, her heart racing. "Lucky, it's okay," she whispered, stroking his back. "You're safe." David inspected the source of the noise. A picture frame had fallen from the wall. "Just a freak accident," he muttered. But the incident left the family shaken. That night, Maya stayed by Lucky's side, determined to reassure him. "It's going to be okay," she whispered, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "I promise." A week passed, and Lucky began to settle into the rhythm of life with the family. He ate regularly, followed Maya around the apartment, and even wagged his tail when David came home from work. But challenges still lingered. Lucky refused to venture outside, cowering by the door whenever Maya tried to take him for a walk. "We have to help him get over his fear," Maya told Sarah one afternoon. "He can't stay cooped up forever." Sarah nodded. "Let's start small. Maybe just the hallway for now." Armed with treats and patience, Maya coaxed Lucky to the apartment door. He hesitated, his paws planted firmly on the carpet. "It's okay, Lucky," Maya said gently, holding out a piece of chicken. "You can do this." Lucky took a tentative step forward, his eyes darting nervously. With Maya's encouragement, he crossed the threshold and sniffed the hallway air. "Good boy," Maya cheered softly, her heart swelling with pride. One evening, as the family sat down for dinner, a knock came at the door. David answered it to find Mrs. Perkins, their neighbor, standing with her arms crossed. "David, I need to talk to you about that dog," she said sharply. "It's been barking during the day while you're all out. It's disturbing my work." David sighed, his frustration evident. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Perkins. He's still adjusting, but we'll work on it." "You'd better," she snapped. "Or I'll report it to the landlord." When David closed the door, Maya's face fell. "Are we going to lose Lucky?" "No one's losing anyone," Sarah said firmly. "We'll figure this out." David knelt beside Maya, his tone gentle but serious. "We need to help Lucky adjust faster. That means less barking and more training." Maya nodded determinedly. "I'll do whatever it takes." The next morning, Maya woke early and began working with Lucky. She practiced commands like sit and stay, rewarding him with treats for every success. Slowly but surely, Lucky began to respond. Later that day, Maya tried taking him outside again. This time, Lucky stepped into the sunshine without hesitation. He sniffed the grass, his tail wagging cautiously. "You're doing it, Lucky," Maya exclaimed, tears of joy filling her eyes. The sight of Lucky's progress brought a rare smile to David's face. "He's come a long way," he admitted to Sarah that evening. "Because Maya believes in him," Sarah replied, her voice full of pride. The progress Lucky made seemed almost miraculous. He began to greet visitors with tentative tail wags and explored the apartment building's courtyard with growing confidence. Maya couldn't contain her excitement as she showed Sarah how Lucky had learned to fetch a ball. But one chilly evening, a new challenge tested their bond. While on a walk with Maya, Lucky suddenly froze, his ears pinned back. A man walking his dog approached from the opposite direction, his large, energetic Labrador barking loudly. Lucky's body tensed, and he began to back away. His tail tucked between his legs. "It's okay, Lucky," Maya said softly, kneeling beside him. "He won't hurt you." But Lucky's fear overwhelmed him. He twisted out of his collar and bolted, darting down the street and disappearing into an alleyway. "Lucky!" Maya cried, panic rising in her chest. She sprinted after him, her heart pounding. Sarah, who had been watching from their apartment window, saw Maya running and quickly joined her. "What happened?" Sarah asked breathlessly. "He got scared and ran." Maya sobbed. "We have to find him, Mom." Sarah and Mia searched the streets, calling Lucky's name into the growing darkness. Neighbors joined in, flashlights sweeping through alleys and parks. "He can't have gone far," Sarah reassured Maya, though worry clouded her face. Hours passed with no sign of Lucky. Exhausted, Maya slumped onto a bench, tears streaming down her cheeks. "What if he's hurt, Mom? What if we never find him?" Sarah knelt beside her, wrapping her arms around her daughter. "We'll find him," she said firmly. "Lucky is smart, and he knows you love him. He'll come back to you." As the night stretched on, Maya noticed a faint movement in the distance. A shadow shifted near the edge of the park, and then she saw it, a pair of glowing brown eyes reflecting the streetlight. "Lucky!" she cried, her voice breaking. The dog hesitated, his body trembling as he stepped into the light. His fur was matted with dirt, and he looked scared, but he hadn't gone far. Maya knelt down, extending her hand. "It's okay, Lucky. I'm here." Lucky sniffed the air, his eyes darting nervously before he slowly approached. When his wet nose touched Maya's hand, she burst into tears of relief. "You're safe now," she whispered, hugging him tightly. Sarah watched the scene, her own eyes glistening. "He trusts you, Maya," she said softly. Back at the apartment, David cleaned Lucky's paws while Sarah prepared a warm blanket for him. Lucky lay curled on the couch, his head resting in Maya's lap as she stroked his fur. "I thought I lost you," Maya said quietly. "But you came back to me." David smiled faintly. "I think it's safe to say Lucky has found his home." Maya looked up, her face lighting with hope. "You mean we can keep him?" David nodded. "As long as you promise to keep working with him. He's part of the family now." Maya hugged her father tightly. "Thank you, Dad. I promise I'll take care of him." With Lucky now officially part of the family, life in the apartment took on a new rhythm. Maya dedicated herself to helping him build confidence. Each morning, she took him on longer walks, guiding him gently through the bustling streets. One day, while walking near the neighborhood park, Maya noticed a group of dogs playing off-leash. She hesitated, glancing at Lucky, who watched the dogs with cautious curiosity. "You want to try, buddy?" Maya asked, kneeling to meet his gaze. Lucky wagged his tail tentatively, his eyes flicking back to the dogs. Taking a deep breath, Maya led him to the park's dog run. She unlatched the gate and stepped inside, keeping a firm hold on his leash. At first, Lucky stayed close, his body tense. But as the other dogs approached him with wagging tails and friendly sniffs, he began to relax. "Good boy," Maya whispered, her heart swelling with pride. Lucky's progress brought the family closer together. David, who had initially been hesitant about keeping Lucky, began to bond with him. He often found himself throwing a ball for Lucky in the evenings or sneaking him scraps of food during dinner. "You're spoiling him," Sarah teased one night as David slipped Lucky a piece of chicken under the table. David chuckled. "He's earned it. Besides, he's part of the family now, right?" Maya grinned, her heart brimming with happiness. "Lucky's the best thing that's ever happened to us." Inspired by her experience with Lucky, Maya began to notice other strays in the neighborhood. She started talking to her friends and neighbors about ways to help abandoned animals. "We should do something," Maya said one evening as the family sat together. "There are so many dogs and cats out there who need help." Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "What do you have in mind?" Maya's face lit up. "What if we start a community club? We could work together to help animals find homes, like we did for Lucky." David smiled. "That's an ambitious idea. But it sounds like something worth trying." With her parents' support, Maya began organizing the Lakeside Pet Care Club. She distributed flyers around the neighborhood, inviting families to join. To her surprise, several people showed up for the first meeting, eager to help. Maya stood nervously at the front of the room, Lucky by her side. "Thank you all for coming," she began. "I started this club because Lucky changed my life. And I believe we can change the lives of other animals too." The group brainstormed ideas, from organizing adoption events to creating a food bank for pets in need. By the end of the meeting, everyone was energized and ready to act. The Lakeside Pet Care Club quickly became a cornerstone of the neighborhood. Maya's vision blossomed into a series of initiatives that brought people together. The first adoption event, held in the community park, was a resounding success. Families walked away with new furry companions, and the atmosphere buzzed with hope. Maya, with Lucky at her side, greeted every family that passed through. "Thank you for giving them a chance," she said to one couple as they carried a rescued kitten home. Lucky seemed to understand the significance of the event, wagging his tail at every adopter who left with a happy pet. But success didn't come without challenges. One day, the club received backlash from a group of residents who complained about noise from the adoption events and the presence of animals in public spaces. Maya overheard one particularly harsh remark at the park. "This is ridiculous," a woman said. "Not everyone wants animals running around everywhere." The words stung, but Maya kept her composure. She shared the concerns with her parents that evening. "What if they shut us down?" she asked, her voice trembling. David placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Every great idea faces challenges, Maya. The important thing is how you respond." Determined not to give up, Maya invited the critics to a special club meeting. "We want to hear your concerns," she told them, "and find a way to make this work for everyone." At the meeting, Maya stood in front of a mixed crowd of supporters and skeptics. "I understand that not everyone is comfortable around animals," she said. "But our goal is to make the community better for people and pets. Let's work together to find solutions." Suggestions flowed in, from designated quiet hours during events to offering educational workshops on responsible pet ownership. By the end of the meeting, many skeptics had softened, and a few even expressed interest in joining the club. Months later, the club had not only survived but thrived. They expanded their efforts to include food drives for shelters and partnerships with local businesses to sponsor veterinary care for rescued animals. One evening, as Maya and Lucky walked through the neighborhood, she paused to watch a family playing with a dog they had adopted at one of the club's events. "You did that, Lucky," she said softly, scratching behind his ears. "You made all of this possible." Lucky looked up at her, his tail wagging as if to say, "We did it together." As word of the Lakeside Pet Care Club spread, Mia was invited to speak at a city council meeting about their efforts. She stood confidently at the podium, with Lucky by her side, and shared the story of how a scared, abandoned dog transformed her life and the lives of countless others. "Sometimes, change starts with one small act of kindness," she said. "And it can grow into something bigger than you ever imagined." The council applauded her, and the club received a grant to expand their initiatives. Back home that evening, Mia sat with her parents on the porch, Lucky lying contentedly at her feet. "We've come a long way," Sarah said, her voice filled with pride. "And we're just getting started," Maya replied, her eyes shining with determination. As the stars filled the night sky, Maya leaned down to hug Lucky. "Thank you for trusting me," she whispered. "We've got so much more to do." Lucky nuzzled her hand, his eyes full of love. Together, they faced the future with hope, ready to make the world a better place, one wagging tail at a time.